Now we have another no talk with Marianne Grijsje, who is a passionate architect and design researcher. And we'll be exploring this entanglement between humans and the built environment. Marianne, we can't wait to hear and to explore how, what it really means to live in our spaces. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Stephanie. Thank you for being here. I hope you're all sitting comfortably because you might change your notion of comfort after this discussion. I will be talking today about the nuances or the dynamics between the human body or the human beings and their built environment. Oops. So, throughout history, humans have always positioned themselves at the center of the universe. There's almost no world where we don't imagine ourselves at its center. It's like instinctive that we project our image at everything that we observe. Maybe this is why we see a face in the moon, because it's kind of a reference of our projection or our understanding, or us trying to understand the world and have this proximity with the world. Throughout history, humans have always tried to quantify the world in order to understand it and to understand where they stand in it. So they quantify time, space, and the material environment, including their bodies. So in the history of design and architecture, designers have adopted an anthropometric method. For those who are not familiar with the term, anthropometry is the scientific study of human body measurements and proportions. So designers, artists, architects have been fascinated with this notion of the proportion of the human body. The most common image that we know, or the depiction of the body that we know, is the Vitruvian Man of Da Vinci, which is this proportionate, idealized form of the human being at the center with unity with the universe. Another famous artist is Albrecht Dürer, who was also obsessed with bodies and proportions. He studies all forms and shapes. Almost every civilization had its own depiction of what a human body looks like or what a human being looks like. And those bodies were taken as units of measurements most of the times in architecture and in design. For example, the Egyptian culture took this canon system, which was like a measuring system based according to the human proportions. Fast forward to the 20th century and the Industrial Revolution and the standardization and normalization, architects, of course, wanted to join. And they were pioneers in standardizing this image of the human being. And one of the most famous icons is this universal man created by Ernst Neufert. Ernst Neufert created this book called Bauentwurfslehre. It's a book that we still use until today as architects, as designers, whenever we want to create a piece of furniture or a space within the norms. So if I want to know what should a tabletop height be like, I open this dictionary or Bible for architects, and I know what a standard height of a chair or of a table, of a space, of a bathroom, of a corridor should be like. But we have to keep in mind that those measurements were based on this image, which is, I don't know how much it represents us. It represents us as human beings. It is a perfect, I would say, idealized, well-muscled, tall, male, white human being. Le Corbusier is also one of the most famous architects who joined this trend, and it was like a fascination. Every architect wanted to create his own figure or his own persona. Le Modulor, for example, Corbusier created Le Modulor, which is also a muscled up 183 centimeters male, because he was inspired by the policeman, the English policeman novels that used to refer to those characters as 6 feet tall human beings. So here we ask the question, what is the base of this measurement? Is it like quantitative? Is it statistical? Is it just fantasy? Is it idealization? Is it optimization? So by reducing the human being into this 2D, male, white, perfect shape, architects and designers didn't only design this image, they also designed the world based on this image. Because the chairs you're sitting on right now are designed based on those measurements. The world you're living in is designed based on those measurements, which are, in my opinion, not a representation of what we look like. So by designing this image, they also designed how we're going to be using those spaces and how we're going to be reacting with those objects. They also designed the behavior. And I allow myself to say that they did it in an attempt to design the human being. So if you wonder sometimes why you don't fit in the world, like physically, don't be surprised, because the world is not made for you or is not designed for you. It is designed for an ideal human being. And the notion that the human is at the center of design is highly debatable, because the human being was long time ago the subject of design, not only at the center of design. So the image of the body is constructed through design, while the same image reconstructs the body, also through design. And in this circularity, the body and its image can be understood. So understanding how design affects us is very easy. We don't have to go into theories or talk so much. We just need to observe the daily malfunctions in our life, or the patterns of malfunctions in our life. How? I'm not saying that the impact of design is always negative and they did a bad thing, but it is easy to trace a virus when there are symptoms than to trace a dormant virus. Let's look at what we're wearing today. Do we tailor things to fit our body, or do we fit our body into what's there? So there's the chair, we just fit our body in the chair. The shoes, the earpods that keep on falling from our ear. The toothbrush that is either too thick or too thin. The shoes that are always like slightly tight or loose. Anyone can give more, like we can give more examples. The jeans that we fit ourselves into. And so on, with the examples of how design affects us and how it affects our daily life and our behavior. But there's a chance, I don't want to be pessimistic. Through these patterns of malfunctions, we become aware of our body. Because our body functions as an interface with the outer world. We become what we eat, we become what we wear, we become what we breathe. It is just an interface, and we function automatically, we don't think about it. Like, I don't wake up every day and ask myself, how is my lower back pain today? Or how is my lower back today? Unless there is pain, then I'm like, okay, I have a lower back, I'm aware of it. So we're aware of ourselves through these kind of malfunctions, which can be a chance for us to observe ourselves. So back to quantification and this obsession of quantifying the world, we can also, through quantification and self-tracking, analyze our data and the data we produce. And this notion of self-tracking is not a technological advancement. We've been doing that since a long time. It is just a self-critique, a self-reflection. So let's look into what is really affecting us, what is really bothering us, what is really making us happy, what is really serving us or not. And this self-tracking is a practice that we all do. Like self-tracking is when we, as kids, used to trace our height on the door frame to track our growth. It is a mother observing the time where her baby sleeps or wakes up. It is the diaries we do. It is all kind of registry, data registry that we do, whether through sensory tools, whether through Fitbits and sensorial and automated tools, or whether through very traditional tools like a prisoner drawing his name on the wall so that he keeps track of time and that he keeps track of his life and his existence. So self-tracking is this feedback we get from our daily interaction. And this is where we should start, what we should start listening to. It's this feedback that is important for us. So H is the human being, and the X's are everything around us. And there's a constant connection with everything around us, everything we use, the spaces we live in, what we eat, and everything. And if we just take one formula and depict it, the human being is constantly receiving feedback from the world through pain, through numbers, through statistics, depends on the tools we are using. And the human being, it is now his turn to do an action about it, or not. So if I'm wearing this Fitbit, and I know my heart rate, and I know how long I ran today, and I'm not qualifying this kind of data, then it's not really serving me. If I'm checking how much time I'm spending on Instagram every day, and just seeing it, and then continuing my life, and not doing any action about it, then I'm not giving it feedback, then it is just data input. I'm not doing anything with this input. So unlike what Bruce Lee said, be water, be shapeless, be formless, today's talk is an invitation not to be shapeless and formless, not to just melt into everything that is given to us under the pretext of design, of good design, of nice design, of technological advancement. Rebel against those given forms and shapes. And when we talk about self-tracking, many people think it's a kind of surveillance or data collection. But the act of self-tracking is this notion that is called surveillance. It is a rebellion against this surveillance, because actually the data we are producing today, that we're not making sense of it, someone else or big companies, big data, are making sense of it. And they are giving us solutions, tailored solutions, solutions tailored to what they want to sell for us. And it is this act of being aware of our data and qualifying our data and making sense of what is useful for us that actually there is a form of resistance against this big data. So when a company comes and tells me, based on the statistics, this is what you need, I would say, no, based on my statistics and my numbers and my observation, I don't think your product would be valid for me. There's an exercise, now to go back to design and architecture, and how can we apply self-tracking in this, in shaping our world. There's an exercise that I always like to do with my friends and my colleagues, is asking them to draw a map of their daily trajectory and ask them how do they interact with the built environment, what bothers them every day. One of the examples I did with my past colleagues is gave them the same floor plan of the office, and each one of them drew like their trajectory throughout the office. And they drew what they like, what they don't like, what they think bothers them, which corner do they like the most. And then we sat and we did a kind of qualification of this analysis. For example, there's a corner in the office where we used to have a barista coffee machine. It was for everyone the best place to connect or to socialize. And there is a corner that is super dark and very dull. It was for all the people who did this analysis a dark corner. So by drawing conclusions, by drawing conclusions together, we can, for example, propose some improvement in the spaces we live in. Another example is an experimental zone that was given in Berlin for the university, Humboldt-Universität of Berlin. It was an interdisciplinary lab. It's a floor plan dedicated to researchers, where it's an empty floor plan, and every 2 months they used to change the configuration of the space. And a new group used to come, change the configuration the way they want. Different scientists work together, different people from different disciplines work together, and they try to draw conclusions, and they try to design their own space. This allows them to really observe, analyze, and act upon this analysis. And the problem is with our designs or our spaces today is that they are final. Architects and designers have adopted this expert's point of view where they grant spaces and objects that are final, that cannot be modified, that cannot be tolerated, which makes us only dull users instead of bringing this agency or allowing us to leave this agency. So perhaps designing better is about disturbing these existing expectations that designers have. I'm allowing you to rebel against us. So when they propose an object, maybe using it differently brings new insights to the equation. Maybe a good chair is not the chair where you can forget yourself for 3 hours sitting there, not moving, because our body is not made to not move. Maybe the best chair is actually the one that bothers you to move every half an hour, because our bodies need to move every half an hour. This is what we're made for. So it is the way we are assessing good design that can be thought differently. Maybe now with the notion of new work, green offices, yeah, we are changing cubicles to green cubicles. We are making like beautiful, colorful, those are AI-generated pictures. Beautiful offices, colorful offices, modern offices, collaboration, communication, hot desk, I don't know what. They can still be empty if people do not really want to work together. Because design is not the problem, is not the solution for this kind of problem. If you know the inhabitants of your space, if you know your employees, if together with them you design the space, then your space won't be empty. But if you don't know them, and if you just grant them the space, even if it's so beautiful, it will remain empty, and they will not collaborate, they will not communicate, they will not come to work. So now the big question is how to bring people back to work. After COVID, everyone wants to do home office. And all those offices started competing by refurbishing their offices, making them beautiful so that people come back. People do not want to come back, because the problem is not the office. The problem is political. It's a structural problem that needs to be solved internally. So another example are these architects called Arakawa and Jins. They called their houses reversible destiny, because they thought that the modern spaces are too flat, too comfortable, that we are not moving anymore. And if you want to win your life, maybe you should bring some movement into the space. Maybe the floor shouldn't be flat all the time. Between brackets, I'm not suggesting our spaces should look like this. I'm just bringing some insights about how to evaluate what good design is. So if you are coming here today expecting that I will be showing you nice buildings and nice spaces, this is not about it. So these are just simulators, or simulators to assess design differently. This example, I like it because it's a reading lamp called Forget Me Not. This reading lamp, after a while, closes and it turns off, unless someone touches it, and then it opens again. And it brings this awareness about the consumption of energy. It's like Netflix. Are you still here? If you're not here, then don't use me anymore. So it is this kind of feedback. If we receive this feedback more and we listen to it and we react to it, then we are more empathetic with the spaces we're creating, and we are more empathetic towards ourselves. So for me, to wrap up, I also address this last slide to designers that we should be more modest. We should work together with the people. We shouldn't enforce our vision and our floor plan because we are not the ones who will inhabit the space at the end. We should, together with the people, design. And this idea that people don't know what they want, it is because we are not asking the right questions, and it is our job to let them know what they want or listen to what they want. And maybe a nice space in the end isn't this shiny, beautiful, modern, flat space. Maybe a good design and a nice space is an incomplete space where people have agency to still optimize it, make it for them, make it better, where people have agency in this space, where they can move. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Marianne. This was very thought-provoking, actually. And I will take your call to action to heart, the one about rebelling against all forms and all given frames. So thank you for that. Do we have any questions from the audience?
Thank you so much for the presentation. It's been incredible. As a social scientist, I can also think of, I think one of the things that I thought of when you were showing offices and different types of offices is that we are all located within a capitalistic society or a capitalistic economic system which pushes gain above comfort. So comfort is now bought. So I thought in two directions. One of the directions is whether you, or if you are aware of any forms of reinventing back the pre-capitalistic forms of design and comfort. For instance, from our region, from the Middle East and North Africa, we've always made things on our ala dhokna, on our
customization.
Yeah, optimization, exactly. So each house is made for the comfort of its own inhabitants rather than having similarly designed and similarly built houses that anybody could fit in. So it's the agency of the human beings within this. And of course, if we speak about the capitalistic political economist system, we are also speaking about, for instance, airplanes. One of the pictures there was how would I use the chair in a different comfortable perspectives. And the picture was like, if you are flying low fare, for instance, and you have absolutely no agency, but no capability of controlling your own comfort in that context. So it has, of course, to do with the affordability of comfort or how to buy comfort. And again, it leads to the previous point, tracking back our comfort to the optimization in our cultural and historical roots, North Africa or the Middle East, for instance. Do you have any ideas, or it's more of a comment than a question?
Yeah, thank you for bringing this up, actually. There's this idea of individual, or not individual, like customization or uniqueness is also like newly created. Back then, tailoring your own cloth was this commodity that everyone used to have. Today, tailoring your own clothes is a luxury. Back then, people used to build without architects, and those are the sites we go visit to see how amazing they are and how this World Heritage, all these World Heritage villages made without architects. There used to be a connection with the need. And it is like the Industrial Revolution has helped us immensely with communication. For example, this standardized seating place of an seating of an airplane. It's like a huge revolution. Or like the car seat, or these standardized parts of the car that can be exchangeable. But when it comes to our own spaces or our own interaction with those spaces, we kind of lost track at some point. I don't know if it's the outcome of capitalism or it's just industrialization, or but also this notion of new work. Like all those people are so obsessed about communication, collaboration. I mean, look at the third world, how they work. They work in communities. They work together. They build together. They come together. Like, I come from a village, for example, where people, when one person wants to build a new floor plan, all the village would come overnight, and then they will help them pour the concrete. This is how I remember things used to be. So perhaps this notion of new work is actually an old notion, that we have to look at the roots or at the real needs, because now we are focused on something else. And by asking the right questions, we can go back on track and see what we really need. I don't know if I answered your question. It's just like a... Thank you for that.
Thank you. We will just take one final question because time is already up.
Thank you for your presentation. I want to ask you, when you was talking, I was asking myself, it is about the feeling, maybe. I don't know. You're the engineer. Can you say for me that we can connect the engineer, or we can connect what we are doing with the feeling? Because if I'm going to my office, I want to be relaxed. I hope my desk is fine. I can't do what I want. Mm-hmm. But maybe it's feeling also.
Definitely. Feeling is one of the feedback that we build on. I mean, feeling is at the heart of this feedback we need from the world, because we are either feeling good or feeling not good. Today in my presentation, I was a bit pessimistic about the feeling not good, or the feeling bothered from the chair, or feeling the pain in our body. But all of those feelings are the feedback we get, and this is very individual, because what makes you feel good doesn't make me feel good.
Yeah, but the problem here...
And it's my job as a designer to translate what makes you feel good into the space. And we have to always keep in mind that design is not the solution for everything. So if you're not feeling good, for other reasons, because people, because also designers at some point started promoting architecture as the healer. All those clean spaces, optimized spaces, and by designing these images of the human being, they hoped that they are also optimizing our lives, our behavior, our spaces. So we fell into this notion that design is a solution for everything. I have clients coming to me where they ask things that I'm like, okay, maybe you should go to the therapist, then you would be feeling better about your space. I'm not the solution. So we have to also draw the limit of how much design is an answer for our well-being. I don't know if I answered your question.
It's fine, thank you.
Thank you so much, Marianne. That was great. And thank you to our audience. I invite you to come check our booth, the Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum Knowledge Foundation's booth, which is located here also in Hall 4. It is booth C33. It's like a minute away from here. And we have 2 more no talks during the book fair. One will be held tomorrow at our booth, which will be about future-ready digital industrial sales at 1 p.m. and another one on Saturday, also at 1 p.m. about digital pathways for inclusive development. Thank you so much and have a great day.